Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Peter MacDonald, co-founder and CEO at Wunderite. And for the first time in many episodes, I'm actually confident in how to pronounce your name. The young MacDonald. Let's put it that way. And I don't think that you run a farm. But Peter, thank
I would
you
love to, but it's not a great business model, at least in the in this age of technology.
And I based on your LinkedIn, I think you're in Boston. You don't have to go too far out of Boston if you did want to run a farm. The weather is not super great.
There's some snow on the ground right now, but that's okay. We like snow up here in the Northeast,
Cool. So Peter, thank you for joining me today. We met at InsurTech Connect. You were one of the 100 and some quick interviews that I did for the ITC Video Diaries, and then finally we get a chance to sit down and have the longer conversation. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is Wunderite?
Yeah, so I think of Wunderite as the best tool out there for independent insurance agents and brokers to collaboratively fill out insurance applications. So think accord forms, supplementals, schedules, etc. Easiest, fastest way for an agent to sit down, fill it out on your browser, and you can send a link off to your customer and they can kind of finish on their end. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of the high level.
Okay. So the best tool for independent agents and brokers to collaboratively fill out apps. Okay, so this is interesting. So there's at this point in the InsurTech revolution, at least a few players that have specifically focused on applications and supplementals, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I love the fact that you go out of your way to say the best. So what makes Wunderite the best one?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is unique to Wunderite is that we're truly built by insurance industry veterans. I've been an agent for 7 years. I've lobbied in DC with a big I every year for 5 years in a row with the young agents. I get the industry. I sold every type of insurance, personal, commercial, life and health. I'm licensed in all lines. And a number of our team members are, as well, come from a background in a space. And I think that in the beginning of the InsurTech revolution, I guess using your words, and even as you probably highlighted in some of your past videos, whether you talk about the verticalized InsurTech MGAs, there are certain assumptions that were made that were probably incorrect. And I think in the technology space, there's just some nuance to the way that you fill out insurance applications. We want it done easier, faster, better. But we don't want to make material misrepresentations when we are filling out an application. And
radically important. Yeah. Radically
really
important to get it right. Yeah.
But of course, no one cares when you're filling out the application the first time. It's a year later, 3 years later, when you're in court and it's there's a decision being made and it's oh, but you fill this out kind of in a weird way. And so I think having been an agent and having gone through some sticky situations, perhaps, you're just a little bit more attuned to that. So I think there's a lot of opinionated points of view, I guess, built into the software, which in my opinion, makes it the best. Also, it's one of the only that I've seen thus far that allows you to literally work on a PDF side by side with a web form, which might sound kind of hey, why do I want to work on a PDF? But it just turns out if you've been in the industry for a few years, sometimes you like to print out the insurance form and you just like to dive in and read it. And if you're a true insurance nerd and you really know your coverage, it's wait a minute, let me piece this thing together. I want to sit down and read this like a novel. It's like a puzzle. And the flip side is when you're gathering the data, sometimes you really just want to be let me see the actual application as it came from the carrier, because context is crucial. And I don't want to lose the context by just seeing a web form that somebody put together from an insurance carrier's PDF. So I think Wunderite kind of provides that context, and it makes it the best experience from an insurance perspective to fill out.
Okay. So I am very biased when it comes to InsurTechs created by actually insurance people.
Okay. Bias for or bias against?
For in a really good way, right?
Awesome.
The first round of InsurTechs and still we still see some to this day are where basically tech toys looking for an insurance problem, right? And often they just had no idea what the challenges were in the actual industry. So we're seeing nowadays more and more insurtechs created by either former agents or former carrier leaders, and you created it because you saw an actual problem, right? And now whether
100%.
you're getting the technology right or not, that will vary depending on what co-founders you bring and kind of what resources you find. But you're trying to solve a real problem, a real issue that existed out there. So yeah, no, I'm very pro actual insurance people creating insurtechs, and on the broker side especially, there's now an accelerator out in Iowa that is owned by brokers and funded by brokers, kind of
BrokerTech Ventures.
BrokerTech.
We went through the first class. We went through the first class of BrokerTech.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
awesome,
fantastic.
awesome.
Great experience. Exceeded our expectations. And I think people love to say, it exceeded my expectations. I think BrokerTech Ventures literally exceeded our expectations, especially being in a first class. World-class hospitality, great people, and anybody, people ask me from time to time, they reach out like, hey, how was BrokerTech Ventures? And I'm like, it was great. Love the people we met there. Fantastic people.
Thank you for remembering the name, which I have such a hard time with names, and for putting in the endorsement. Plus, you did it before COVID, so you did it in person in Iowa.
It was the first class, and it was in 2020. It started in like February, so we went. It was in person for like the first couple of weeks, and I think we were one of the first startups that was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna not show up in person for any more of these." And they were like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And we're like, "COVID." And it took a week or two for them to realize, like, I think once the NBA shut down, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is big." So
okay.
It was an interesting time. We were in Techstars at the same time, which is like a industry agnostic technology accelerator.
Okay.
And we also were pivoting there to virtual as well. So it was certainly an interesting time to be building a company.
So you at least did get the necessary experience of checking out Zombie Burger during the couple of weeks that you were there.
Maybe my co-founder did, because we kind of we swapped up trips. Like I would go one week, he would go the next.
Okay.
So I don't know if I went to Zombie Burger. If I did, I'm like a zombie and can't remember it. So
okay. Definitely must do at some point.
But now I want to go.
Exactly.
I'm like intrigued by it. I've never heard of this.
It's a must do of spending time in Des Moines. Okay. And it's definitely become really big within the global insurance accelerator crowd. Yep. So hopefully it becomes big with BrokerTech too. So going through two accelerators at the same time, how did that work? I don't think I've run into anybody else that did it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the objective of accelerators, and founders will ask me for input, and I'll actually tell them like, hey, be careful when you look at an accelerator. You never know. I mean, what's the objective? Hopefully the accelerator's objective is to help you build an awesome business. Typically an awesome business is defined by helping you raise your next round of financing, helping you build the right profitable business that you need to, like, helping you achieve the next milestones. I think sometimes there's it's more like a, hey, this is a cute innovation thing, and we want to bring in some corporate companies to like see your innovation in progress, and not so much about interest aligned around you building a tremendous business. So I think with Techstars, they are truly the most founder aligned accelerator that I've ever, I guess, worked with, and like there is true to their word in that sense. They, Clement Cazelot here in Boston had pitched himself as, think of me as like a third co-founder, and I was like, we're going to hold you to it. But he's been fantastic and helped us raise our next round of financing. So by all means, tremendous success. That was an in-person accelerator in Boston, and BrokerTech, we thought a lot like, does it make sense to go through two at the same time? But the way we thought about BrokerTech was, It was a simple investment, literally on a simple agreement for future equity, a safe agreement. And so it's very simple financing terms. And we thought these are some awesome people that we should know and we should be connected with. And that's definitely been true and helpful for us as we built the business. So I think, the way to think of an accelerator is, it's not like you have 9 to 5 programming 5 days a week. It's more like you're making really great connections that you might not otherwise have access to. And the price that you pay for that is you sell a part of your company through the financing agreement.
So one thing I found really interesting in the description of accelerators, the way that I would phrase it basically is find an accelerator that is focused on the feeding process, on helping you grow, not one that wants that is more of a petting zoo. Where right,
those are your words, but I kind of like the way you phrased it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it just kind of makes sense, like, because I can absolutely see carriers coming in to play kabuki theater, innovation kabuki theater, to pretend they're innovating, especially now that AM Best is measuring that, and not really being invested in actually helping you grow. So very interesting. Interestingly, 280 episodes or so, and I don't think we've ever asked what makes a good accelerator. So this is really good.
Yeah. I mean,
really,
it's maybe not something that should be talked about, I guess, as much online, because it's not as fun of a topic. But yeah, I've definitely heard both from people on like the corporate side that are like, this is kind of like a petting zoo, or it is kind of like, hey, it's like we're checking off the box of like innovation. And I've seen it on founders as well. And I know you interviewed some people recently who wanted to leave a really good career, take a big risk, and build a company. And I think it's tragic if you have somebody taking advantage of someone who is putting their entire career on the line to build something great and to move the industry forward. The insurance industry created the first fire departments, were the reason that like airbags have become like a common feature in cars, were the reason that you have building safety codes so that when a fire happens, hopefully it's mitigated. And if a flood comes, hopefully the building can withstand flooding. And you're seeing that transformation happening across the country. So it's a really good industry that literally saves lives. And so if someone is willing to put their entire career, their family, their lifestyle at risk, I hope that the people that they partner with are aligned in the interest of building a really great company around that, and not just saying, oh, this is cute, let's check off the box so that we can feel good when we have our next board meeting.
And your description of insurance is absolutely perfect. And we get
I'm from the industry, Tony,
credit for it as an industry. And now whoever listens to a podcast like gets it. That's why they listen to a podcast. But when, as an industry, we just get very little credit for everything we've historically done and how important we are.
It's where our name comes from, by the way. Wunderite. We believe insurance is wonderful, and I think all too often it's like, insurance is a necessary evil. And we want to bring the wonder back. Wonder is miraculous. It's the German word for miraculous. And we want to bring the wonder back to underwriting. We do believe it's a truly wonderful industry. And if anybody has ever seen the impact of somebody being made whole, it's literally transformative. And I've seen it myself when my first daughter was born, 6 weeks premature. And you're faced with a mountain of medical bills from being in the intensive care unit. That it would bankrupt you, and then you have those bills taken care of, and you've been made whole. And so I think we've seen it with our own clients, with businesses burning to the ground that they've built from nothing. And so it's a wonderful industry.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree completely. So Wunderite, it's built for the brokers, quite clearly. Does it, so if I'm a broker, I sign up with Wunderite, does it play with any carriers that I work with, or does it require the carriers to have partnered with you for it to work?
Yeah, it works with any carrier. I mean, we have this forms library of hundreds and hundreds of forms from multiple carriers. And so, and if you don't have your forms, your insurance applications on there, we can digitize them and bring them on there. So it's kind of carrier agnostic. I think one of the
Okay.
challenges in our industry, let me say differently. One of the beautiful things about the industry is it's fragmented, right? When you think about what does it take to manufacture an insurance policy, I wrote a piece on this. You can check it on LinkedIn. It's called The Insurance Supply Chain. You just Google it. But basically, like, what does it take to actually manufacture an insurance policy? And it doesn't take a ton. And as a result, one of the wonderful things is you can actually build an insurance carrier without needing thousands and thousands of people. And I think this is, economically one of the reasons why we have fragmentation. One of the reasons why it's not going to become consolidated. So I think you have all that. And one of the challenges, of course, of having such a fragmented ecosystem or marketplace is it's not easy to standardize. Some players maybe don't want standardization. If you're an insurance carrier, like the way you make money is by insuring the best risks or by being more efficient in the way that you like run the business, or maybe both. And so I think that like, if you have some secret sauce that makes you more efficient, maybe you don't want to just have standardization and make it easy for somebody else to replicate because that's your secret sauce. So I think in order for Wunderite to work successfully, we have to work with, all the different players, using their forms and using kind of like the way they like to do business.
Yeah. So it's built to play with whoever.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if I'm a broker, how does it work? How do I get started? What kind of commitment is it? What's the revenue model?
Yeah. So, if you're a broker, you can call 888 Wunderite. You can go to our website, you can sign up for a demo, put a time on one of our sales executives' calendars. But very simply, the way the software works is we have a forms library, and you can add one of these forms to one of your clients' risk profiles. You fill out what you know, and then you can share the unanswered questions with your client. And then at the end, you can kind of get it signed with digital signature. We've released that into beta recently, and then send it off to your insurance carrier the way you would with any other kind of form that's signed. To your point about like, how does it work? It's an annual agreement, and there's an annual fee for the software.
Is it a per head in my agency or
Yeah, I think there's kind of like a minimum contract size, but yeah, it's more or less like as you add new people using the software, your price will go up accordingly.
Okay. And once we have it, it doesn't matter how many times a year we use it or whatever. It's an unlimited use type thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we get this question, especially from if you talk to carriers, like, oh, what's the cost per transaction? But I think we want to encourage people to use this software, not charge them every time they use it. And I think with at least our target, which is smaller brokerages, the transactional cost could be an impediment to use. And so rather we say like, hey, look, here's your annual agreement, and use it as much as you want.
Okay. So you specifically built it for the smaller brokers. It sounds like.
Well, yes and no. I think like you, a little bit of a geek, earned my certified risk manager. I sold some of the smallest deals at my agency when I was working in insurance. I also sold some of the largest deals over a broker of record by having a more risk management focused approach. And so the software is actually designed to work across a gamut of sizes of clients. I think what we've done in targeting agencies is, right now we work with a lot of smaller agencies, and I think it's just good for our business model. But definitely, we have larger agencies with hundreds of employees and can certainly sell those deals. I just think that selling to a 10 to 20 person agency is very different than selling to a 200 person agency. The way that the sale happens, depending on who you're talking to. Are you talking to an owner operator, or are you talking to a commercial lines underwriting manager who is then bumping you up to a principal or something like that? I also think the onboarding and the implementation, which is probably the most important part of any software purchase you make, I think right now change management in this country is an enormous industry. The jobs are growing exponentially, and the results aren't great from a change management perspective. And I think part of that is because organizations aren't great at changing process. And so if you're going to make an investment in a software like Wunderite, the most important part to nail is like implementing it and using the tooling. And so I think the way that an owner operator who feels the pain directly is going to implement a tool is different than, you know, somebody at a larger agency who's maybe one manager removed from the, you know, individual contributor level work.
Okay. And if I can ask, how many agencies on the system at this point?
Yeah, we have a great base of agencies. I think, you know, we've been working, you know, heads down in the software for a bit before wanting to kind of go to market, but we're kind of in that go to market motion now. So we have a really solid base of clients and growing, you know, adding, you know, dozens in the past quarter, if, you know, a few dozen, if not more.
Awesome. What's next after applications? Is if you can share?
Yeah, look, I think big picture, if you've been in the industry a few years, you know that there's opportunity to make things easier. And I think for those of us who've been sitting on the sidelines, like watching the big sexy insurtechs raise all this money and do these IPOs, and they're like, we're scratching our heads. We're like, well, what about us? Like their financials aren't that great. And, you know, what like we've been around, like, what about us? And I think there's opportunity, like we know there's opportunity to make things easier. If you've run an agency, we've chatted with carriers and seen their software, it's like, yeah, there's stuff that can be improved. And so the question for us is not so much like, is there stuff to build? It's more just like, what's the thing that's most scalable to the most amount of our prospects and customers? And like, so like, what thing can we build next that's going to bring the most amount of joy, if I can borrow Marie Kondo's term there. But like, what, you know, what's, we do product management. We have like this board, and we basically take every single piece of feedback we've ever received. We tag it to who it's from, prospect, customer, who's the agency. And then we rank it, like, how critical is this? Like, nice to have, medium, or like critical, or like, I won't buy it unless you have it. And then, okay, like we heard it from one person, but if you only hear it from one person, it's like, gosh, this is a really tough case to build it. But if you hear it 10, 15, 20 times, and it's pretty important, you're like, I should probably build that. And so, you know, I think we have this enormous list of things we've identified, and it's just a matter of prioritizing effectively.
Excellent. I've got to say, you speak very differently from a lot of other insurtech founders, almost
How do you
poetically.
mean?
I don't know though, the way you see, I like the way you see the industry. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've done a couple hundred of these interviews. So at this point, they kind of run together. But it's been a fun one. I look forward to see what you guys continue to build, and to see you guys continue to grow. I agree. There's a ton of things to that we can still improve in this industry, and the application process is painful. And anything you can do to improve that, and especially to improve it, and make that improvement available to as many agents as possible, that it's a win for the industry.
Absolutely. And if I could just add, I mean, I think if you look out there at some of these insurtechs of the world, they're literally building entire businesses on the sole premise of the application is a little bit less friction. It's a little bit less pain. And like, yeah, like right now you can literally build an insurance carrier off of like, the application is easier. That's it. And I think the challenge for those of us who've been in the business for a while is like, well, why can't we do that? Like, why can't we get a quote with just 2 questions? Why can't we pull in all this data? And I think the answer is we can. We just have to have the tools that enable us to do that. We have to have the tools to simplify, work with the fragmentation, which is really great from an economic perspective for the consumer. But like, how do we make it function? I think that's kind of like the messy middle that the industry is in right now. I also believe that there's a fantastic distribution system. There's 36,000 agencies of all stripes and colors. You have super creative people on the agency side. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Clubhouse. You know, they're out there making a name for themselves and doing the right things for their clients. And they're representing a swath of carriers that are competitive. And the key is just need to make it easy and remove the friction for the customer so that they can get competitively priced products, the right product for them, not just because it has the easiest application process, but because it's truly like the best fit for them. And that's, you know, that's why we exist.
Nothing like having the right mission to make the fight worth every day, and especially the grind in the startup side where you guys really put your sweat and tears into it, compared to like a cushy 37-hour a week corporate job that many of us in the carrier side
we only work 35 hours a week here. No, I'm kidding. It's definitely, I'm working the most that I've ever worked. No question. Except for me when I was pursuing my CPCU and getting up at 5 a.m. every day to read for an hour. But really, like, just so passionate about it. And I think probably like you with what you're doing, and if you're passionate about the work, it's enjoyable. I'm energized at the end of the day. And I think that's the best thing that you can ask for, is to eat and drink and enjoy your toil under the sun. And that's what I'm doing every day.
Oh, absolutely. Doing something you love, it is it's so much better than a job or a company that you don't care about. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been a lot of fun. When it goes live, I'll tag you on LinkedIn, and I'll include the company's website. For the agencies out there, you know that the application process sucks, and anything you can do to make it better, both for you, for your staff, and for the client, is an investment you should definitely make. There's no reason that buying insurance should be as hard as it is.
Absolutely.
Thank you.